How's it going, guys? Akira here, and today I am bringing you a video. We are celebrating the PlayStation 3's 19th anniversary. So the PS3 came out in November 17, 2006 in North America, and November 11th, 2006 in Japan. So yeah, 19 years since this console has come out, which is crazy to think about. Basically, we're 1 year away from 2 decades, 20 years. It's just crazy how time has gone by. When this console came out, the NES was 20 years old. You know, the Sega Master System was 20 years old. So it's crazy how like now to 20 years ago, you know, this is as old as the NES was when it came out, which is, it just blows my mind, right? And yeah, same thing with the Xbox 360. You know, its 20th anniversary is in a few days. You know, 19th anniversary for this one, and then the Wii's 19th anniversary is also in a few days. So yeah, it's crazy to think about, because this is a generation I grew up with, right? As you guys know, I grew up in the Wii, 360, PS3 era. So it's just insane to think about that. That was 20 years ago. It's like, wow, I feel old. But enough about that. I wanted to show you guys. Let's see if I open this up correctly. If not, I might need a knife, to be honest. But I was, let me show you guys. There we go. Something really cool that came in the mail the other day. Let's see if I can pull this without I want to see, and I'll explain why I did this, right? Move this out of the way. There we go. So as you guys can see, this is a launch Japanese PS3. Now, even though I grew up with this era, the 360 Wii PS3 era, I was still too young to experience the launch, right? So for example, with something like the Switch 2, right? Or like, you know, the PS5, you know, I was able to, you know, like live through the launch, right? You know, I didn't experience, like, you know, I didn't go and get those consoles at launch. At least in the PS5 case and like the Switch 1 and like the PS4. But, you know, I saw through people on YouTube putting their videos, you know, live streams, you know, midnight releases that, you know, people are lining up in the Nintendo store in 2017 for the Switch 1. Or, you know, the PS5 couldn't do it because we had like, you know, the pandemic. But 2013 with the PS4, people were lining up, you know, in the stores in like New York and San Francisco, and stuff like that. So, you know, I never got to experience an actual launch until the Switch 2, where I literally lined up in front of a Best Buy. There's videos on YouTube and TikTok of mine, and I was waiting midnight release, and I got the console on release. So the Switch 2 was the first console I ever was able to, because, you know, the PS5 would have been, because I was old enough by then, but, you know, COVID happened, so I guess, you know, it got pushed into the Switch 2. So that was my first console to ever experience. But yeah, I grew up with this, and I was still way too young to experience the launch of this or the Wii or the 360. But yeah, I guess this is the closest we'll ever get, right? 19 years later, almost 20 years later, I get to unbox one and see how it was like travel through time 19 years ago on November 17th and opening one. Or I guess November 11th, since technically this is a Japanese one. The reason why is because they're cheaper. Like, they're way more expensive. If it was an American one, and this is not brand new, this is like, you know, the person repackaged it or whatever. But in, you know, in Japan, they're cheaper, and they've taken more well care of it, right? You know, it's way better condition than maybe something that we would have, you know, than from like an American seller. So with all those stuff combined, all those reasons combined is why I was able to, you know, get a Japanese one, because of it being cheaper and more of them were in better condition. At least, you know, from what I saw. So here it is, right? This is what it would have been like. Let's say if I'm a Japanese teenager, right, or if I'm a Japanese man back in 2006, I would have, let's see, I would have lined up in, like, you know, Shibuya or wherever the heck it would have been, and, you know, boom, grab one, right? So this is, it looks super cool. So you got this artwork over here of the beautiful PS3 on the side. You got here where it says just PlayStation 3 and info down here. Different from the American version. The American version, these letters are moved up and they have some screenshots of some of the games available at launch, which I believe it would have been Genji, Resistance, and a few other games. I think Need for Speed, and what else was at launch for that? A few other games. I'm forgetting the top of my head, but you would have seen screenshots of, you know, the games that you would have gotten on release, right? Mainly Resistance, I think, is the more popular one because that was like a Sony IP game. Ridge Racer 7, I believe Ridge Racer 7 was launch title, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But yeah, we got it in Japanese here. Here it says 60 gigabytes, region free, obviously, and it tells you, you know, it's Blu-ray, DVD, video, and ROM, Super Audio CD, compact disc, which is regular CDs, Dolby True HD, Dolby Digital, DTS, Digital Surround, Wi-Fi certified, Bluetooth, HDMI, USB, memory stick, SD, CF, etc., etc., Java, right? So as you guys don't remember, the Xbox 360 launch did not have Wi-Fi compatible. So that's crazy. At launch, if you got your Xbox 360, and even all the way up to like maybe 2010 to where the release of the Slim came out, Xbox 360 did not have Wi-Fi. That's one thing that a lot of people forget, that 360 did not have Wi-Fi. You only had to do Ethernet, or you get like a weird like little adapter with like an antenna. But the PS3 60 gigabyte had the Wi-Fi built in. The 20 gigabyte, I believe it did not, but I think that one was still backwards compatible, right? So yeah, this is 60 gigabyte here. Oh yeah, and then right here you see more pretty cool stuff of the artwork of the PS3. And then that's the bottom, right? So yeah, it is November 11th, right? Or 17th, right? And, you know, let's say we're in 2006, right? What do we see here, right? We're coming off the hype of like the PS2 and like the GameCube and, you know, that generation. And we open it and we're like, wow, look at this, right? So I'm putting myself in that mindset. And there's bubble wrap. That probably would not have been there, but pretty cool, right? And then I see, and then boom, here we got the power cord, right? So that's pretty cool. It has this little thing right here. I've seen this a lot in Japanese stuff. I don't know what it is. Maybe I should do some research on that. But we got a power cord, right? Geez, I wonder who's president now. Maybe Bush. But yeah. And then in this side over here, we see that we have, boom, a brand new, well, not brand new, but you know, a DualShock 3, which if it wasn't out, you know, if we were back in 2006, it actually would have been a 6-axis. But I guess the person gave us a DualShock 3, so that's funny. But it's okay. I have 6-axis controllers, and feels nice. The right stick feels a little sticky, like when I touch it. But that's literally, I could just wipe it off. But dude, like, it feels nice. I move it around. The buttons feel nice and clicky, and they included this extra. So nice of them to do that. So let's put our brand new 6-axis controller there. No, I'm just kidding. Right. And then, ooh, what do we got here? We have our charger for the controller. So this will charge our controller. And then we got I think that's it, right? Is that it for this side right here? Yeah, I think that's it for that side. So now we pull out the console, right? Oh, whoa, okay, this all came out at once. Anyways, yikes. But that's okay. No worries, we're in 2006, so There's nothing to be worried about, guys. The economy is fine. Bush is president. What else happened in 2006? Lincoln Park was still popular, right? Okay, so all this came out at once. What do I start with? Dear, and it says my name, Acura, right? Let's just say Acura. Thank you for your purchase. We appreciate your business. If everything is satisfactory, please leave a positive feedback. Well, I would, but I'm in 2006, so I don't know if that time traveling through the warp time and space continuum will allow me to do a review. We got some matcha green tea. This probably definitely did not come with a PS3 at launch in 2006. So yeah, let's move that out of the way. And we got a fan, pretty cool. Wow, they gave us a copy of Yakuza 4. It looks like Yakuza 4. Forgive me if I'm wrong, and this might not be the Yakuza games, but it looks like Yakuza 4. I barely can read kanji or you know, katakana, or just Japanese in general. I only know a few characters here and there, right? We got an HDMI. That definitely did not come in 2006. It would have come with the regular composite cables. But it's okay. Sometimes when you travel back in time, you know, some things don't quite pan out exactly. You know, you do a change in the timeline. So maybe me traveling back in time will make Sony give us HDMIs. But yeah, we got this cool letter form thing right here. It says Sony right here. It's pretty cool. We got this instruction booklet, as you can see here. Just regular stuff, right? How to change your hard drive, you know, if you want to upgrade it from a 60 gigabyte to something bigger, 100, 120, 250, 500 gigabytes, like maybe 1 terabyte. Got more instructions, all in Japanese, and a quick reference guide. I've always been fond of this like black with like this like red like wave accent that the PS3 was going for back in the day. Black and red are some of my favorite combinations of colors, so it's really cool. Obviously, you know, Sony's or PlayStation's, you know, like main color is blue, but for this mid 2000s era, they're going for the black and red. But then, you know, by the time the Super Slim came out, they were going for like what we know now as, you know, the blue white stuff, like how we see later in the PS4, PS5 era. But yeah, let's unveil our brand new, never before seen PlayStation 3. Because remember, guys, we were just coming hot from the PS2, and holy shit, this is in beautiful condition. This is the PlayStation 3, guys, right? Jeez, I am very, very impressed by the amazing condition that this thing is. It is a CECHA, of course. We're just confirming that. Right? I better text my friends on my flip phone and tell them that I got the brand new PS3, because we're totally in 2006, right? What is an iPhone? Never heard of that. So yeah, wow, okay. I would say this probably is one of the cleanest PS3s I've seen. I have a few backwards compatible ones, you know, CECHA and CECHE, so the 60 and the 80 gigabytes. I think my main 60 gigabyte one is, it looks just as clean, but like a tiny like smudge, scratch, what do you want to call it, would be like here and there. But this one is pretty basically new, dude. I'm telling you, bro, Japanese people know how to take care of their stuff. So yeah, this is the PS3, right, with our included Yakuza 4. We got the manuals, right? This is definitely not supposed to be here because by this time we did not have the PS3 font over here. We had it here on the side with the Spider-Man font. So another break in the time-space continuum that we have here when we travel back to 2006. We got controllers, we got HDMIs, we got a DualShock 3, which should have been a 6-axis, but I'm just playing around, guys. I'm just playing around. Yeah, I got a beautiful PS3. But yeah, other than that, guys, I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, the PS3 is my favorite console of all time. Why is it my favorite console of all time? I mentioned it a few times here and there in my top 10 videos, but short story, I think it has the most creative Sony exclusive first party lineup, maybe besides the PS2. Because by the PS4 and PS5 era, most of the Sony exclusive games are just like third person over the shoulder action adventure games. They're mostly like that, with a few exceptions here and there. And here we had stuff like that, but then we had stuff like Ape Escape, and we had stuff like LittleBigPlanet and Infamous and Killzone and Resistance, and you know, Twisted Metal was still hot. You know, we had stuff like Fat Princess, Tokyo Jungle. Sly Cooper was still around, you know, and Jack and Daxter, and then, you know, the Ratchet games are still going strong, you know, Ratchet and Clank. We had Loco Roco, even though Loco Roco was mainly a PSP, we had the one Loco Roco spin-off title that was on the PS3, on the PSN store, right? You know, we just had a variety of, you know, creative first-party IP games. You know, SOCOM was still around. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Mod Nation Racers, LittleBigPlanet Karting. We just had tons and tons of more. So for me, that variety, you know, speaks, you know, I prefer that, right? Because, you know, why have like 10 games that are all like the same over-the-shoulder third-person action-adventure game when we can have all 10 games of different like variety and uniqueness and, you know, different genres and stuff. So combine that with the actual games itself are like some of my favorites. And then combine that with the capabilities, right? For example, this fat one specifically can play PS1, PS2, PS3 games, and it could be a, you know, etc. You know. On top of that, the storyline. For me, the storyline is also something that I'm very like, you know, attracted to, because it's like it's the underdog. It's literally Rocky, where he was the underdog, right? He's the previous champion. He gets his ass beat, right, by Xbox 360. And then the storyline is that the previous champion that's washed has to come back from, you know, the bottom and take his spot once again. And, you know, it overthrew the 360 by the end of that generation. So that underdog comeback story is very cool, right? You see it in sports a lot all the time. You know, so that's pretty cool, right? It just reminded me of that. You know, rooting for the PS3 was pretty cool. And also because I never got to have one. At the peak of it, I mentioned before, I got my first PS3 was a Super Slim, and I got it towards the end of that generation. I think the PS4 was already out, like for sure. But you know, it was in that era where there, you know, Sony was still releasing PS3 and PS4 games. So yeah, but it was definitely the console I wanted the most as a kid. I wanted this more than anything as a kid. You know, by the time it would have been like the Slim or the Super Slim. But you know, still regarded as a PS3 platform. I wanted it the most as a kid, and it was just one of those things where I never got it. So then, not getting something as a kid makes you want it even more when you grow up. You know, it's just like that in life, whether it's in general, whether it's just, oh, you want a bike, or you want a toy, or you want a certain, you know, something, right? As a kid, and they keep denying you it, you're gonna want it more and more, right? But anyway, so yeah, that's just a short synopsis of why the PS3 is, you know, combination of reasons why the PS3 is my favorite console of all time. And yeah, happy 19th birthday to this console right here. Next year will be 20 years. Holy crap. And after that, it will be 21, and I'll definitely take it out to the bar and give it a drink, right? You know, buy his first legal official drink. But that'll be within 2 years. But yeah, other than that, guys, let me know what do you guys think. What do you guys think about the PS3? I genuinely want to know, because there's a lot of misconceptions about this console. Since the 360 was in the spotlight for like most of that generation, people just, at least the casual people, right, the people who only play like sports and Call of Duty every year, those type of people they don't remember anything about this console. Like for them, it's just, oh, that era was just 360, and like, oh, and I remember my grandma playing Wii Sports. Like that's literally what they think that era was. But no, this console was like, you know, I legit think it was the best console in that generation, because of the games that ended up coming up to it, and on top of like, you know, the storyline, you know, in my opinion. Because I don't know, man, Uncharted 2, dude, Uncharted 2 could probably, it's definitely the game of that generation, in my opinion. Mario Galaxy's up there as well. But yeah, other than that, guys, let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about PS3? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Did you guys have some crazy memories? I actually would love to hear them, because it would be, you know, I wouldn't experience, you know, I didn't experience memories from when it was at its prime, but I would love to hear your guys' memories. You know, maybe you got it for Christmas or something, who knows. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day, guys.